Welcome to the Inphamus Hour Live. I'm your host, the infamous Amadeuz. All social media platforms at the infamous Amadeuz. And of course, follow the official show, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and every goddamn place you can hear radio. That's where you find me at. And shout out to the loyal citizens of Boom Bap Nation. Each and every Thursday here on Facebook, we bring a live interactive experience. We started in the pandemic and we are still outside. We have brought a majority of the hip-hop greats, but we are not done. We are still active. And on the line, on the screen with me is another young veteran. I don't know. Guys stay so young. I mean, you know, it's since the 90s. Was it the Hennessy? I mean.
Nah, man, it was a mixture of things, man. It was a mixture of things, you know. For the most part, it was a work of the Most High, man, of God, man.
Yeah.
And just, you know, believing in a higher power. And really, I used to box, so I had a lot of boxing training. So, okay. You know, it kept me in shape and kept me youthful.
Yeah.
I think the Hennessy might be catching up now.
Tek of Smif-N-Wessun, welcome to the Inphamus Hour. How you feeling, brother?
Oh man, salute! Great to be here. Great to be alive, and I'm just blessed and grateful.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, we recently lost K-Slay, and obviously, this has been a high impact on the hip hop community. You know, working at SiriusXM, I've got to interact with him a bunch of times. DJed his parties at Angels, one of the most legendary straight stunt and magazine parties. But just from your personal experience, talk about your relationship with Slay and what he meant to the culture.
I mean, well, personally, our relationship was more just, this is just for me talking tech. Me and Slay relationship was more business, professional oriented than, you know what I mean, more to say what him and a Rock from Helter Skelter might be, yep, or him and my man Source Money might be. It was more just, yo, what up, on a respectful level. And, you know, respect for each other. We rock, and then we just go. But he was definitely a staple and an icon in the industry, and he's gonna be missed. Like we really had just did the new 200 joint, did the verse, shot the video for him, and it's just crazy because once we heard he was in the hospital with the COVID shit, you know, I made do it for him, made a lot for him, and maybe a month later, I was trying to, you know, calling around, just trying to see how he was doing, you know, and I think that was probably around the time, you know, you heard he was on a ventilator, but then you heard he came off of the ventilator.
Yeah.
So once you heard that, it was like, oh, all right, he's gonna be all right. So everything, you know, about to get back into the swing of things, start rocking, and then, you know, he just transcended on. You know, it's just kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. We all are feeling the, you know, the impact of Slay that he's left, and we wish his family the best. Now, speaking of legends, of course, Sean P. I mean, legendary. Honestly, my favorite Sean P. record is the Christmas joint. And every time I tell her,
the Grinch joint,
yeah, the way they flipped the instrumental, like I just thought that was legendary. But you know, in your opinion, do you think Sean P is underrated as an MC? You know, they kind of celebrate like the Big L's and, you know, Big and a little more mainstream wise. Your take on that?
I definitely think he's underrated. Sean P was definitely one of the nicest that was leading the way for what was becoming a different sound in hip hop and taking on a different form. So he was you know, once you considered or you already put into that backpack rap or the underground rap, you don't even really get, you know, the recognition of how nice you are because they already trying to box you in. But I think Sean P he broke that barrier right there. And yeah, if he would have still, you know, been amongst us, that's my brother. He would have definitely been top 5, top 10, definitely. But To answer the question, do I think he's underrated? Yes, definitely.
Yeah, no, super impact on the game. Now you mentioned the 200 record. Obviously, we had the 100 MCs record. It was a 200 record complete? Do you know or?
I'm not even. I can't even. Don't quote me on this, but I can't tell you if it was completed or not. I just know our part was done, and we had shot the video over on with my OG Sal on Myrtle Avenue over there in Brooklyn. So and it seemed like as soon as we did that, it just started. Everything just started falling. Not into place, but it was just so much happening during the course of that. And then, what happened, we here now.
Yeah. I got a chance to interview Coke LaRock, the first hip hop MC. And, as one of the veterans of hip hop, dropping in the early 90s, why do you think there's such a disconnect between the younger generation and their recollection of the actual timeline of hip hop? What do you think it actually disconnected?
I mean, first of all, again, I'm talking for me, Tek. My opinion is the way it has a lot to do with the money situation out here, with the bags. Money, there's this clout chasing and dick eating the bag right now. So even if you're a rat or whatever you are, you got a little bread with you, a little bag behind you, is when we was rocking, dick ride had never been a form of transportation, and it still ain't in my book. But I think that's the main disconnect. Like, even if a nigga that's younger than you is getting some bread, you consider a bum ass nigga. You wash. Like, he almost feel like he doesn't have to show you any type of respect because you're not getting no bread, so you're not even on the level that he feel he's on. And then that's just one major component. And then I think, again, there's no alpha male leadership as far as family structure in the home, not outside of the home. I'm talking about in the home, like pops, uncles, older brothers. Those alpha male leaderships are either knocked off or they locked up somewhere, or again, whatever the bond of that family is, they're not being schooled to what came before them. Like when we first started, nobody was putting us up on, like you said, a Coca Lock or a Grandmaster Flash or Melly Mel. If you wanted to learn that, you either had to listen to certain stations like Stretch and Bobito, or listen to those stations late at night that was rocking them Slick Rick records on hip hop. That's if your heart was in it and you wanted to know what it was doing. Now, today, it's almost like an overnight success. You ain't got to follow none of those guidelines. You put a record with a catchy beat or a hook or a flow, you catch 1 million streams on YouTube, so your shit is different. You don't even have to master your craft, so to speak, like what we did.
Yeah.
Because when we came out, we was those people that was in the forefront coming back to the hood, teaching the young ones and the ones that's coming up like, yo, this is what you want to do? Roll with me. I'm going to show you how to do this, or this is how you do it, or get this, and then you can move on. Then So it's like almost when the record labels used to have the artist development section of the record label. Now they just get a chain or a fake rollie or whatever, something that look good, a stud, some tight jeans, and you off to the races. So I think it's a lot of miseducation and what disconnects I don't even like to use the word old school or new school, just which the bridge is a little shaky, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not stable. From a label perspective, because obviously we have a lot of young guys getting deals at young ages. I mean, but this has always kind of been the case in hip hop, right? They were kind of grabbing guys off the street, 18 years old, 19 years old, no education, give them $1 million and send them on their way. But why do you think labels in particular stop the artist development portion of developing a musician and developing a brand and then being able to educate themselves in that way?
I mean, it's almost It's sort of like a triggery double-edged sword. They know if they invest that money and give that money back, the only way they're going to see that money back is holding the artist. So if they don't teach the artist how to go out and get his own thing, and how to be an entrepreneur, how to be his own boss, to run his own, own his masters, now this shit is coming into like 30-something years later. You could own yours and do it. So I think they probably cut that out, because as more and more young Black entrepreneurs started even learning and picking up the game for ourselves and passing it down, they couldn't have that. If we all know the game, we don't need the labels no more. We only need them for their backing of the bag. So if you ain't just trying to get when they was cutting the $5 million checks, it was kind of, you was almost missing out on what was going on. And it's like, when we came and we was doing that to get out of the streets and get away from the hood, the living that we wasn't making it to the age of 16.
Yeah.
And 21. And now it's like, it's almost, they're hustling backwards now.
Opposite.
So now they end the rap, getting the bread, but they want to still be doing the shit that niggas that's in the street is trying to get away from. But you bringing it, you contaminating was could really help you and help your family. Like hip hop can open so many different doors, whether it be music, acting, directing, podcasting. Now it's something totally that's taking off, that's bringing bread.
Yeah,
YouTube money.
Yeah.
So instead of finding those routes, it's almost like you specifically be blind to that. It's like you don't even want to learn what the business is about. You just you want to be an overnight success, or you want to have ops instead of a home that you could come to out of the street where you ain't got to worry about that shit no more for at least 24 hours. So it's like almost they blinded by the bag again. That's where we at with it.
Yeah, I often have similar conversations with my kids. I have, four kids in high school, right? And, they don't live in the hood no more. Purposely moved them out, stuck them in the woods, and they're listening to drill and this and that. They seem to be so attracted by the street life. It's almost like the kids want to reinterject themselves into the culture, but hasn't hip hop always kind of been that way in a sense? Like I went to high school in the 90s. I remember listening to Mob or listening to you guys, and kind of felt like, damn, that's something that I kind of wanted to be a part of that. So is that initially a part of hip hop's DNA to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because even looking at those videos again, if you didn't want to do the know, then you would be blind to it. But looking at those Melly Mel and Grandmaster Flash, the video, the way they was in front of those buildings in the Bronx, I remember coming up in those crack haven days like that in those buildings. So yes, that element has always been in hip hop. But as a street youth that was running the streets, when you learned, I could get legal bread, I gotta risk my life to get a few $100,000 or a few thousands at the time, 100,000. Now there's big money to be made. Now it's definitely always been there, but now they trying to, my fault. So now it's definitely always been the element there, but it was more tamed than controlled, because I think it was more once you learned you could get this bread and not really go to jail for it, or they just ain't popping your head off for it, or in the corner risking your life for it, then I think it became something more easier to maneuver and graduate into. And then once that person, that 17, 18-year-old person matured in the business and learned more about the business, then a lot of those elements started falling even further back. So then you got like hardcore people coming out doing R&B joints and doing melodic joints now, because it's like, all right, that dangerous element is not, present in the forefront no more.
No, definitely. Are we receptive, being in hip hop 30 years to the new sound, the melodic sound and the over abuse of auto tune that the younger generation has? Are we receptive to it?
I mean, me personally, I rocks with it. I
Okay.
love all music. I come from a musical background. My dad played instruments, saxophone, drums, trumpets, bass guitars, and bands, and moved around with legends in his time. And my mom's was a minister in a church. My uncles was making records, so I was always around the music element. So I was basically, that's why in the interview I say hip hop chose me. Like I didn't really choose it because I was born into a musical inclined family. And I listen to, I rock with a lot of the younger cats that's coming up. Some that's known, some that's not so well known, just from the hood, from my area, wherever. You know, I give them a chance. Like we was them at one time, running up on that artist, like, yo, let me spit something for you, or let me do this and do that for you, or yo, if you listen to it, you rock with it, then you know what I mean. Where now it might even be a little bit more easier now to accept the music. Because coming up back then, I think we was just cold shutting them down like hell no, just flinging. They was flinging CDs out of the cars. You know what I mean?
Highway Fridge.
Right. So so now it's like, yo, here, pop this flash, or like again, now you getting some bread from wherever you doing. You could run up on certain DJs like, yo, my shit popping over here in the club. You need to give me a spin right here. And I think, you know, the more you know about it and you be around it, you become receptive of it, because you gotta stay reinventing yourself, especially as an artist. So whether you get that inspiration from a young or a veteran artist, you have to be receptive to that.
Yeah, most importantly, wise words from Tek. This is the Infamous Hour. I'm your host, the Infamous Amadeuz. Live right now, Facebook.com/BoomBapNation. We are scanning the chat actively for questions and comments. Now, obviously, people are well aware of the name change at some point. Smif-N-Wessun, the Cocoa Brothers. How were you guys able to revert back to Smif-N-Wessun after? What was it? Because it wasn't actually named after the gun company?
Because it was no similarity in between it. It was spelled different. It was different fields of business. You know, one is music, one is arms. So it was. We did have to fight for it for a long ass time, though. That was the name change of Cocoa Brothers and Tek and Steel, and then eventually back to Smif-N-Wessun, what we rocking right now.
Most definitely. Now, out of the catalog, which album defines the Smif-N-Wessun sound? I mean, obviously, everyone will say The Shining. You know, you could argue the P-Rock album was
monumental.
Yeah, monumental. For me, I think Monumental was like the prime of what you guys were doing. But in your opinion, you know, as the creator or the creative, which album defines your sound as a group and as solo?
As I think as an artist, you might want to say like your first body of work is, because it's so raw, like you really not in a place where you know exactly what you're looking for, what you want, but everything just feels so natural and organic. So I think, but then as an artist, and what the public always say is your sophomore, the album that follows after that, now that you got a little bit, that's automatically always thrown to the wayside. But even when you think about the Cocoa Brothers album, The Rude Awakening was a fucking dope album. Even though it was slept on and it wasn't well received as The Shining, it was still a dope album, and it brought us new listeners. It brought us a whole new demographic of listeners. But I think, man, for me personally as an artist, I don't think there's an album that really, you know, define it, because you constantly trying to elevate your artistry up.
Yeah.
So once you find one sound that you think, all right, that's me, you can't ride that for your entire career. you got to step it up and keep adding levels and bars and elevate it. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, there's not really one album that's yet, because we still here, we still rocking strong. Like the All album, people say the All album is like part 2 of The Shining. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even though I know there's artists that be hating to go into the studio and be like, yo, I can't recreate that. I don't even want to do that. My mind ain't here. I'm not on the same shit what I was on before. And then you got artists that go into the studio with that purpose. Yo, I'm going to do this album, part 1, part 2, part 3, and so forth like that. But I think me personally as an artist, I like to keep evolving and elevating and reinventing myself. And again, music is the glue to my world, man. Yeah. So I always like to experiment with different sounds, different flows, and everything with it.
Mm-hmm. I heard Nas say something like that on the King Disease album, where referencing, if you want to hear the old Nas, go to the Clue tapes, right? And speaking of the King Disease project, he's in a certain zone with Hit Boy, right, where it's like he's really pushing out. He seems remotivated. But for you as a solo artist and as part of a group, which producer did you felt that you clicked with the most? Obviously the Beat Miners, and then we had the Ninth Wonder Project and of course Pete Rock. But, two-part question. As a group, who do you guys think you worked the best with, where it was just instantly, and then as a solo artist as well?
Well, I think both parts could be Beat Miners as well as Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council. Because Pete Rock, Monumental, don't get me wrong, was a dope collab. That was, he came with his game, we came with our game. But as they say, the Beat Miners, they would probably say gave us our signature sound. And then Ninth Wonder took what they did, added on, and raised the bar, took it to another level. So that's like from the beginning, which would be The Shining, to the last album, which would be the All that we just released at Smif-N-Wessun, would be Beat Miners for The Shining, Ninth Wonder, Soul Council for the All. And down, going back into the studio to work on a new album, again, we're linked back up with Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council for the Infinity album.
And they're doing the whole entire project.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is that? Yes, what is that process like? I mean, you guys have accomplished so much. I mean, we're talking about 3 decades at this point, right? Of content, music.
Right, right.
What motivates Tek in the morning to say, you know what? I want to go back into the studio. I want to create. I still have a story to share with the people.
For me, I think it's family, man.
Yeah.
My son, my girl, my wife. For me, it's wanting to see them not having to want for a struggle the way I came up and the way I did. So that make me want to push the pen harder, or push it more, or push it to the levels where I want it to be, but even then take it further after that. And I think it's just pretty much that's what keeps me going. Motivation, and plus shit. You got bills, man. You got to pay for mortgage. You got to pay property tax. It's always a new goddamn holiday popping up.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the different business endeavors, I think, for me, that's what keep pushing.
Yeah, round of applause. Keeping it productive and active. This is Inphamus Hour. I'm the host, the infamous Amadeuz. Shout out to OG from IG or virtual media for setting up the interview. And, of course, this show is sponsored by... That's right. Of course, this show is sponsored by 97 Piff, the first ever fully organic canna butter infused with haze and hydro. And speaking of organic music sound, Tek, of course, we have a top 5 segment here on the Inphamus Hour. I've done top 5 fast food restaurants, top 5 this, top 5 that. So for your question, top 5 hip hop albums of all time, shoot for it.
Yeah, damn. That's such a broad section, man, of all times.
Top 5. In no particular order.
All right. Let me see. All right. This is me. All right. I would definitely say it has to be Shining, Black Moon, Enter the Stage, all the Biggie albums.
All the Biggie.
Yeah, all Biggie albums. Road to the Riches, G-Rap.
Oh, G-Rap.
I ain't gonna hold you. Walking with a Panther LL was dumb hard though. Oh, for me, definitely Mob Style, AZ Whip Wop. Then if I'm not mistaken, that was the name of the album, Mob Style, the joint to take. Don't take 7th, take 8th Avenue. And fuck. NWA.
NWA?
Niggas whatever. Yeah.
We got 7 albums out of you.
I can keep going. I mean, 5 is that's not even scratching the surface, man. Because music, I love it so much, and there's so much music and so much dope music out there. But don't get me wrong, there's a lot of corny shit out there too that made you want to go back in and make some hot music. Be like, yo, this is what y'all really rocking. Like, how are y'all rocking this, but y'all not listening and rocking that? This is where this is even taken from. Like,
it's definitely a different time. And with the emergence of verses, I think the general public kind of sees, for the most part, that, we do need some sort of lyricism and some sort of the core elements of hip hop. But why do you think at this point we haven't had a full boom bap crossover artist in 2022, right? Because we do have a bunch of them. We got, we got Zelda, we got Rome Streets, we got Flea Lord, we have, Snipe Life, you got a new single, you're on that, the Dawn Perry joint. There is an abundance of artists, but why do you think we haven't seen one crossover yet? In your opinion?
Hold on, give me 1 second.
No doubt.
Yo. I mean, let me see. I think the artists themselves has a lot to do with that, man, because they know it almost boils down to like ownership, man. And if you owning your own brand and masses and everything, you don't have to put up with a lot of the BS that they might want you to put up with sometimes. And I think to avoid all that, there's doors that's not offered to those certain type of artists, and to keep their image and that persona up to the man. I don't need that. I think it might be a little, hindering there where people don't even want to go that route. They might feel they're successful in the route that they're taking already. So besides that, and I guess we don't make up the playlist on the radio to get it out there like that. So,
In your opinion, at what point did this kind of go left, right? Do you think it was the Pocket Biggie situation? Do you think it was just, I've spoken to, Granddaddy, you had mentioned to me that they had just, made a plan to stop promoting New York artists. So just in your opinion, as someone who lived through it, experienced it, where do you think this kind of stems from?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist like that. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it was the big impact for per se. I mean, it probably played a little part, but I don't feel in any city or any demographic where that artist is from, it should put a hindrance on his play. If that's where he's from, his music should still be getting out to the masses. You're still supposed to be, that's radio's job to get the music out there. So like in New York, in the clubs, you barely hear any New York artists being played. Even on New York radio, you hear barely any New York artists being played. So you can't say every New York artist is on your shit list when you barely even playing. You might be playing the same 3 New York artists, whoever they are, whether they drill, whether they're backpack, whether they're mainstream. It's still those same 3-5 artists and 12 songs that's in rotation. And that's just not on one station. That's on FM, that's satellite, that's all over. So it trickles down. So I don't know. I can't really pinpoint it where to say it. Maybe once they started letting motherfuckers who wasn't really about the hip hop and the music from the heart, once they started letting them be the program directors, that's where the fuck we were left at.
So in your opinion, just from a straight opinion standpoint, how do we change it? Is it time to put new people in charge? Because people that watch the show, they're like 35 to about 55, right? So this is kind of an older 9 to 5 fan base that just loves hip hop, boom bap nation. Like you see it all over the place, right? So. For them to still be engaged, because I kind of feel like when artists drop new records, they're just disattached, right? So, if you, instead of going to get the new Smif-N-Wessun album, they go back to 93 and keep rocking.
They give the new shit a chance to play to see if it's something up there they like. I mean, how do we change it? I mean, you could bring some new fresh blood and fresh ears in, because now once they already settled in, they feel they have the power where they don't even have to listen to anything new. They if it ain't broke, don't fix it motto. So they paychecks are still rolling and coming in. So they feel like they don't have to keep their ear and boots to the concrete now. Once the paychecks came, they switched up. Before it was fatigues and Tims we was rocking, camouflaged out. Now everything is ultra unisex pants. Like, men and women are not supposed to be in the same pair of jeans. Like, man is not supposed to have to bounce up and down on the bed on his back to pull his jeans up. So now it's like it's almost so hard to tell what the difference between anything is, and it's like they're comfortable with it. But whereas to change it, you're gonna have to make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah, jeez, round of applause. Knowledge from the OG Tek in the building. This is the Inphamus Hour. I'm your host, the Inphamus Amadeuz, Boom Bap Nation. We are scanning the chat. Now, before we wrap up, I mean, you have some new material out. You got the freestyle on the Who Shot You joint, right?
Yeah, I got the Tek Shot You joint with my man strictly from Japan, DJ Can Do over there. That we put that together. Shout out to Shot by Cisco. He shot the video. That's going crazy right now over there. I think that was the plan that we was going for to start it. Heat it up over there in Japan and then let it work its way back on this side. And I got the Culture Pushers joint, which is my me and my partner Flash, something that we doing, helping artists as well as ourselves evolve and take it to the next level. We got the new single featuring my man Source Money called The Language. We probably about to shoot a vid for that real quick. So I think I sent you that. I sent you the joint. I sent you the new Smif-N-Wessun
got that
joint that we just recorded called Kadima with Knife and the Soul Council. So it's like we hitting you from all different angles, man. You can't say, "Oh, I like Smif-N-Wessun, but I ain't hear the Tek joint." Nah, now you get everything, and you get Culture Pushers, you get Tek, you get Smif-N-Wessun, and it's just gelling together beautifully.
In this whole entire 30-year career that you've had, has there ever been an instrumental that you passed on that became a smash, or a record that you were supposed to get on and maybe you just send a verse in time?
Oh, there's been a couple like that, but I don't even want to give them no light. You know what I mean?
They got to be one. Give me one. They got to be one.
If it did happen, then Allah didn't mean it for me. Right?
Okay.
If it was meant for us, then it would have been it.
That's what it is.
Wow.
All right. So new project coming out. A new Smif-N-Wessun project coming out soon. Produced by Ninth Wonder.
New Smif-N-Wessun produced by Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council. Titled Infinity. This is gonna be. Is this the Knife studio album? I think it's gonna be the Knife Smif-N-Wessun album. Wait, the All was the 8th. Yeah, Knife. See, it'd be so many different numbers and projects coming. You just be like,
and then working on your solo stuff as well, right? Because I mean, you were active in the pandemic. I mean, you was dropping. I believe you had the Priceless album, right? That was in the pandemic.
I had the Priceless album. I had the Pandemic mixtape, and I had the Priceless album, which was pretty well received. I think it actually shocked me. I didn't think the masses would even flock to it the way they did, but it's been pretty well received, man. Some dope joints up there on both projects.
Yeah, so we definitely look forward to new material. And final question: are we ever going to get the One Nation album? I mean, I've seen You know, I've seen like fake posts of it, and you probably get asked a million times, but are we ever going to get it? Like, who has this project, and will the people ever get it?
Okay, well, the last I heard who owned the project and who had it, first I heard it was I heard Suge had it, and then I heard Mama Afeni, rest in peace, had it. So I really don't know where that project is. Like, even as far as IG, I just started seeing more posts coming up with when we was in the studio with Pop recording, and those posts you can hear certain joints in the background. So I really don't know, man, to tell you the God's honest truth. I don't know.
How many artists are on this project, just from your knowledge?
Greg Nice, Johnny Boy, Buck, Big LS, Snoop. I want to say it was about 7-8 artists, including Pop. About 7-8 artists, because when we was doing the One Nation, he had wanted to do different regions and different legions of, like, he wanted to do a One Nation East, a One Nation West, a One Nation Midwest, with all the big artists, but he also wanted to put the up and coming new artists or the artists that he felt was dope. And I think it was the Outlaw shit. It had to be about between 7 and 12 different artists up there.
Yeah, well, maybe one day we'll get that One Nation album. Tek, thanks for coming to the Inphamus Hour. They want to follow you on social media. If they want to follow you on social media, where they follow you at?
Everything is Tek Smokey Live. It's just TEKSMOKEELAH. Not everything is Tek Smokey Live. It's just Tek Smokey Live.
All right, that's what it is. Of course, I'm the Inphamus Amadeuz, Sirius XM, Shade 45 every single Thursday, noon EST for the new hip hop picks, at 3 p.m. for the throwback classics. Of course, Boom Bap Nation Thursdays at 9 p.m. Till next time, stay safe, stay COVID-19 free. See you then.